Well, I'm very sad to have to report it, but these storms keep going from bad to worse. I mean, it's fathoming on unbelievable what we're encountering right now in the Caribbean, and we're on our second Category 5 hurricane in 2 weeks or less. And Maria has just formed into a Category 5 late last night. It only just materialized on the horizon back on Saturday as a tropical storm. Sunday it went to Cat-1 and then Cat-2. And they weren't sure about it, so apparently they flew a hurricane hunter into the storm, the eye of the storm, and determined that she was much more powerful than a Category 2 at 120 knots, and they reclassified it to Category 5 at 160 miles per hour sustained. And Hurricane Maria made landfall on our beloved island of Dominica last night, which is always one of my favorite islands because it's one of the only unspoiled, untouched islands in the Caribbean. It doesn't have a big commercial sector like the rest of them. It's very much a nature island and a wilderness preserve, and it got hit by the full force of Maria last night at about 10 o'clock. But you can see there is the eye of Maria over Dominica last night, and it was between 8 and 10 p.m. And it looks like as the hurricane spins out into the Caribbean Sea, the next set of islands it's going to be headed for is going to be Puerto Rico, is where it's supposed to be going right over the top. There will be some islands on the fringe that are still going to get the effects of the hurricane. It looks like St. Martin might be spared. When I say spared, they're only forecasting 60 knots, which is a lot better than 140, but it's still a hell of a lot to deal with, especially after they just got completely devastated by Irma just over a week ago. Then it's going to head over to the Virgin Islands, okay? So British Virgin Islands, they were just completely decimated also. They are projected to have 100 plus knots of wind again on Wednesday morning. So tomorrow morning is when it's supposed to really go over the Virgin Islands. They're going to start seeing the effects tonight at 50 knots. So that's going to be a very long night for those in the Virgin Islands because they have been without power and water and supplies and everything for a long time already. After Virgin Islands, of course, the next ones are U.S. Virgin Islands, and St. Thomas is projected for over 104 knots of wind. And then San Juan, Puerto Rico, which is the main city in Puerto Rico, and it is scheduled for 80 knots plus. So Puerto Rico is on complete standby, and everybody is panicking. They're all trying to figure out where they should go, what they should do, because it has been a long, long time since Puerto Rico has been hit by a major storm. And apparently this one is the second in recorded history for the size of the storm or the impact that it's going to have. But if it hits them as a Category 4 or 5 hurricane, it is going to do a lot of damage to Puerto Rico. And right now, Puerto Rico has been serving as the hub of aid to the rest of the Caribbean islands that were damaged. They've been the ones that have been sending all the supplies via boats and small airplanes over to the Virgin Islands and St. Martin. And if their facilities get wiped out, then there's not going to be any hope of getting aid from them in a while either, because they're going to be shut down just like the other islands were. So Maria is not sparing anybody this time, unfortunately. From there, it's scheduled to head up and will likely hit the Turks and Caicos dead on, and then it will take the Bahamas on the west side. So it'll head out to the Atlantic side of the Bahamas according to current forecast. From there, nobody's really sure because that's quite a few days out yet. But when you look at the forecast models, I did a little research and just looking into where they think it's going to go and what it's going to do in the future. If you watch this projected, this is current right now, you can see this is Hurricane Maria right here. And she's just rolled off of Dominica. And up here, we have Hurricane Jose, who is still spinning there. But this hurricane has been around since Irma and has continued to just sit there in the Atlantic off the coast of the States and spin and not go anywhere. And you can see it is still of considerable size and power. It's still rated as a Category 1, and now they're just waiting to see what's going to happen, because now Maria is going to head up towards that direction. So let's see, here is Wednesday. You can see Wednesday, it is just crossing over directly over top of Puerto Rico. The eye is scheduled to go straight over the top of Puerto Rico at about 11 o'clock on Wednesday morning. After Puerto Rico, it heads out into the Bahamas region, so Turks and Caicos. But as it comes up through here, watch what happens. Now this is their current forecast. This could change on a regular basis, of course. But now the hurricane is almost the same size as Jose. So it has grown substantially in its time coming, and you can see it's growing and growing. And now the two hurricanes, there's this convergence zone of dead air between them, and they're feeding each other, almost like two cogs, two wheels just spinning together. But you can tell that Maria is gaining the strength. So she's drawing strength out of Hurricane Jose as it's slowly moving north and pushing Jose north at the same time. The Atlantic high seems to be staying fairly stationary. If it was moving this way, it would push both of them straight into the Atlantic coast of the States. But the high is remaining stationary, so the two hurricanes are following up the coast, and Maria just continues to grow in scale and size. Jose is still spinning, but starting to bleed out as it gets into the coast of Newfoundland and St. John's. And now it's almost gone. And that last bit of energy is just being drawn straight into Maria, and it's just sitting there off the coast of Halifax and become a monster storm. I mean, look at the size of this. If that covered Florida now, that's like 500-600 miles across. Whereas if you look at it when it was back down here, that's a big difference in scale and size. So this hurricane is forecast to become a lot stronger as it heads north, and then I don't know, I have no idea what it's going to do when it hits the Atlantic, but it looks like it's going to challenge the coast of just off of Halifax and Nova Scotia in Canada. For now, our main focus, of course, is here in the Caribbean, where all the devastation is happening, and all we can do is pray for those. I mean, the Prime Minister of Rousseau declared an emergency a long time ago, and he reported live from his house that his roof had been ripped off, and he was now at the mercy of the hurricane, and that the house was flooding. He was later able to report that he was rescued, but the devastation was unbelievable, and he was quoted as saying that we have lost all that money can buy. So that doesn't sound promising. But he said that he was not looking forward to the morning to find out what the casualties were going to be and assess everything. But they suffered massive damage 2 years ago from a tropical storm that caused widespread flooding and damage, and a lot of people died in that storm. And this is much more catastrophic. They were scheduled a lot of wind, a lot of rain, and I'm sure Dominica is not faring well right now, but there are no reports coming out because I'm sure they have lost power and communication at this point. So all we can do is hold out and wait and see how things go with Puerto Rico. We really hope out for Puerto Rico because they are the ones that are in close proximity that can help everybody else. So let's see how they do. So anyway, I hope you'll join me in just wishing all best wishes to everybody encountering this monster, and we really hope that it doesn't proceed as it's forecast to do. With any luck, it'll dissipate a little earlier or be a little bit less strong, but by all accounts, the news is going to get worse before it gets better, so don't know what else to say, guys, but just keep our heads up. Keep a watch and stay safe, everybody that's in the way. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.